This is my first blind book date ever. Blind book dates are really having a moment right now on the internet, and I am so excited that I just got my very first one. So if you don't know what a blind book date is, it is essentially a book that is all wrapped up. I see people decorate these so cute, and essentially on the front here this says it's a cozy autumn blind date book. And then on the back, my friend who gave it to me, whose name is Chelsea, she has a little bit of a synopsis here, but I don't know what the book is. We are going to unwrap it together and do a little reading vlog of my first blind date book. Now, this one was gifted to me, so I don't know exactly what it is, but I've seen some other blind date books where you can choose different themes, you can choose different genres, so you can kind of hone in on those based on your preference. But again, since this was a gift, I'm not really sure what it's gonna be, but from the back it says, in a whimsical house full of witches, a guest tries to find her footing. Overgrown herb gardens, warm sweaters, and a grumpy, hot librarian await. Okay, well, I am so excited about this. And also she had put in a little sheet mask in here, which I thought was so cute and just kind of gives in with the cozy vibes. But let's unwrap my first blind book and see what it is. It's like wrapped so nicely. I feel like I don't want to like ruin it. Okay, so here is the book that we will be reading. This is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Wishes by Sangu Mandana. Not sure I'm saying that correctly. I have heard about this one though. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let me read the back. It says, a warm and uplifting novel about an isolated witch whose opportunity to embrace a quirky new family and a new love changes the course of her life. As one of the few witches in Britain, Mika Moon knows that she has to hide her magic, keep her head down, and stay away from other witches so their powers don't mingle and draw attention. And as an orphan who lost her parents at a young age and was raised by strangers, she's used to being alone, and she follows the rules, with one exception, an online account where she posts videos pretending to be a witch. She thinks no one will take it seriously, but someone does. An unexpected message arrives, begging her to travel to the remote and mysterious Nowhere House to teach three young witches how to control their magic. Breaks all of the rules, but Mika goes anyways, and is immediately tangled up in the lives and secrets of not only her three charges, but also an absent archaeologist, a retired actor, two long-suffering caretakers, and Jamie. The handsome and prickly librarian of Nowhere House would do anything to protect the children, and as far as he's concerned, a stranger like Mika is a threat, an irritatingly appealing threat. As Mika begins to find her place at Nowhere House, the thought of belonging somewhere feels like a real possibility. But magic isn't the only danger in the world, and when peril comes knocking at their door, Mika will need to decide whether to risk everything to protect a found family she didn't know she was looking for. I am so excited to give this a read and try something a little bit different. I read a lot of chick lit and I read a lot of thriller novels, but I love a good, for me, I usually tend to say that I like magical realism, and I know it's saying that Mika is a witch, but I love like a little bit of, like a little sprinkle of magic in my life. So I'm super excited to read this. A big thank you to my friend Chelsea for the blind book date, and I need to get started. Okay, so I made it through chapter 5, so that is 50 pages, and I have to say I'm very intrigued so far by what's happening. So we have Mika, who's a witch, and she is going to the Nowhere House to teach these 3 young witches how to handle their powers. And it's kind of interesting reading it because she's saying that witches aren't really supposed to like be together like how the 3 witches are in that house, because when witches get together, their powers can be too powerful essentially, and sometimes bad things can happen. And she was also saying that when she was younger, like it took her so many years to learn how to control her powers. So when she goes to the house and she sees the 3 girls, like the one girl hits like a ladder and like it like lights on fire because she doesn't understand how to use her powers yet. So that's why Ian and Jamie, that's why they want Mika to come to the Nowhere House to essentially be a tutor to these girls so they can learn how to handle their powers. And so there's a little bit of like back and forth in the beginning, because while Mika posts videos online, she's pretending to be a witch online, but she's actually a witch. So then there was that weird banter back and forth of like Ian being like, we know that you're a witch, and she's like, no, I'm not, what are you talking about? And he's like, no, we know you are. And so we had that going on, but she decided that she was going to go ahead and do it. So I'm just getting to the point where she is getting ready to move into the house with her dog and her koi pond, which is very interesting. But I was laughing at one point, you probably saw it on camera, but I was laughing because on page 46 she's meeting with her neighbor Noah, who was dog sitting her dog while she was like trying to see if she was going to go be a tutor. She asked him if he wanted any tea, and he said yes. And she was like, okay, from all these tea leaves, what do you want? And he said luck. And she even says in here, like, he doesn't really think drinking the tea will make him more lucky, and when he, you know, is coming into some luck, he'll just think that it's a coincidence. But she has these different, you know, tea jars, right? So she said she returned the jar of luck to its place between sleepy and when your uterus is up to its usual tricks. And that gave me a chuckle. I need a tea like that. That part made me chuckle. I was like, that was pretty good. I'm excited to keep reading it. So this is considered like a cozy fantasy novel. I think it's perfect for this time of year. I'm starting this like a week before Halloween. I'm not sure how long it'll take me to finish, but I am 50 pages in so far. Let's see how many pages there are. So there is 316 pages total. So see how long it takes me to finish. I'm starting this on October, it's either the 21st or the 22nd. Potentially it could be the 23rd or the 20th. Who really does? Alright, so I've been reading The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. So I have made it up to, I'm through chapter 8, so I'm starting chapter 9, so on page 99. I feel like the sections that I read today, I want to, how do I say this? Because it still made me interested in the book. There's nothing that was really like jumping me forward or like reeling me in, but I feel like the writing is at a very good pace. I feel like we're starting to get to know the characters. We're starting to get to know a little bit of backstory from Mika, from the girls, from Jamie, even Ian. And so even though, again, like I said, there's not like a big plot point that I feel like was discovered in the chapters that I've read, I still really like the writing style. I'm liking the plot. It's still keeping me interested. Like the only reason I'm stopping is because I have to jump on a meeting. I've been really enjoying the last few chapters as well, and I feel like it's setting us up for some good things. Like Mika's starting to work with the girls. You're starting to learn a little bit more about how they do magic. We also know that Ian wants to be a matchmaker for Jamie. He's tried and failed in the past, but he very clearly wants to set up Jamie and Mika in this one. So far, so good for the Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I'm having a lot of fun reading this, and again, I'm 100 pages in, and I'm intrigued to see where we're going. Hello friends, I've been coming to you probably the last few clips from different places. So I've gone on a couple different trips. I just went to Michigan recently to visit one of my friends and wanted to bring one of my November TBR books there. And then most recently, I am now in LA. I'm here for a couple days for work. And I decided on both trips to bring the Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches and to be reading this one because I like it a little bit more than I'm liking Divine Rivals right now. So this is the one that I've chose, and I'm now a little bit over halfway through the book. So I am now on page 196, which is chapter 17. So I feel like quite a bit has happened since the last time that I have left off, and I'm glad that I chose this one as my kind of like vacation read, I guess is what I'll call it. I was visiting a friend, I'm here for work, but we'll call it a vacation read. I feel like we've gotten to know Mika quite a bit more, and there's quite a bit about her past that makes me really sad. Like, she's truly not used to people caring about her. She's not used to people like wondering where she is and is she okay, and like having like checking in with people like, hey, I made it here. She's just really not used to that, and we've gotten to see her become closer to the three girls as well. There was a point where there was a bit of a scare between her and Terracotta had a bit of an issue, and a bit of a like health scare that happened with Mika, and it really kind of softened Terracotta to her, and the other girls really became very protective over her, which is not something that she is used to. And we've also had a bit change in the romance department between her and Jamie. So they've started to hang out more. There was like a time where every single night like they were finding reasons to hang out with one another, but we really got it. One of the pages I just read, this says, his eyes were almost silver. He reached for her hand and drew it away from his forehead but didn't let go. Instead, he turned it over to trace a scar on her palm. Her skin tingled. What's this from? Thorns. She moved her hand out of his and back to his face. He stopped her, his hand tightening around her wrist as she drew her fingers over the line of his jaw. It's as hard as it looks, as she marveled. Jamie cast his eyes heavenward and muttered something under his breath that sounded a lot like, it's not the only thing. So we definitely have a lot more romance going on. Like I said, I'm a little bit over halfway through it, but I'm really enjoying this one. It's very cute. It's definitely a very cozy read. But I also, on my trip to LA, I popped into Barnes & Noble and I picked up holiday books. So I was doing a little bit of shopping in LA. I went to Sephora to shop the Sephora sale for my main channel, which is more of a beauty channel, but there was also a really big Barnes & Noble in the Grove, and I couldn't help but to stop in. And as I was looking over the different books, I thought about picking up a thriller because I did just finish The Hunter's Daughter. I mentioned this in my November TBR. If you love thrillers, I highly, highly recommend this one. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. It was such a good book, but I decided I wanted to grab a holiday book since it is November. Now we're starting to switch over to holiday time, and I love reading holiday books. I get a lot of these in PR as well, so I'm super excited to see what books that I get this year. But I decided to grab The 10 Things I Hate About Mistletoe, and this is by Cody Hall. This says, a misunderstanding sparks an enemies to lovers romance between an outdoorsman and an inspiring writer. Bar, no Latino man in Mistletoe, Idaho, I was gonna say Ohio, Idaho, has measured up to the literary heroes in Delilah Gill's favorite books. Anthony Russo is no exception. She's not sure why the steamy smooch they once shared suddenly turned frosty, and she's tried to keep her distance ever since. But she's had enough of being serial single, and she decides it's the perfect time to put herself out there. Anthony isn't interested in playing games, and he doesn't like being used, especially not to make his own best friend jealous. Still, a bruised ego doesn't stop him from imagining kissing Delilah again when she shows up at the local watering hole looking like $1,000,000 and the other single men in town start to notice her considerable charms. As December approaches and the Christmas festivities ramp up, both Delilah and Anthony find themselves roped into Mistletoe's seasonal happenings. It won't be long now before proximity turns loathing into interest and ultimately a romance that could lead to a very happy holiday indeed. Alright, so this is the book that I picked up from Barnes & Noble, so I just wanted to share that very quickly as I keep reading The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. And hopefully I will be wrapping this one up pretty soon because it is about time to switch from cozy fall to cozy holiday. Okay, I think this is going to be my last check-in on The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches before I finish it because I am just about done. So I'm on chapter 21 or 234 pages out of 316. So again, I think my next one for the reading vlog is going to be a wrap-up of all of my thoughts on it. But I feel like we've really come a long way in this book, and the word that I keep going back to is how the book is described, right? The genre is like a cozy fall romance, and it definitely feels that way. There's not like, I wouldn't say there's like a ton of angst. There's a little bit of like back and forth between Mika and Jamie, and like obviously they like each other and obviously they want to be in a relationship, but it's not like an overly dramatic like we shouldn't be together, we should be together, we shouldn't be together. Like it's just two people that are not necessarily tiptoeing around each other, but they're trying to decide. Like it feels very adult of like trying to decide if they should try to pursue things more or not. And I just really like something about this book just feels very calming, which at this particular point in my life, I feel like I just need a nice calming read right now, and that's really what this is. But still at the same time, you're getting to know Mika on a different level, and also you get to learn about Jamie on a different level and kind of his background and his relationship with his mom and his brothers and kind of how tumultuous that is. And you kind of see Jamie and Mika getting drawn more and more to each other, and you're also seeing Mika getting drawn more and more to the Nowhere House and to the three girls and to Ian and Ken, and really starting to feel like she is forming this family. You know, it says in the back of the book, an opportunity to embrace a quirky new family, and you're really starting to see that in these last few chapters that I've read with the book. So I've been really enjoying this one. I'm excited to finish it off and just kind of see where it ends. And again, I just kind of appreciate the calming factor of this book. If that's what you feel like you need in your life right now, this is going to be a good one for you to pick up. We have made it to the end of The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana, and this book was so cute. This was my first blind date book and one that was gifted to me from a friend, and I really enjoyed this one so much. And what I thought was interesting is when I was reading the acknowledgments from the author, she said, when I started writing this book, we were 8 months into the pandemic, and all I wanted to work on was a warm, cozy, romantic story about magic and family. A story that was, above all things, about love and human connection. And I really felt that way in this book because I've been saying throughout while I've been reading that Mika, to me, I feel like one of the reasons why I was so drawn to her as a character is because she has a really positive attitude about life. Like, not in this like overly cheerful way, but she just has like a good view on life, even though she's been handed a lot of hard times, and she hasn't really had people who have been close to her. She doesn't have a family. She doesn't have a lot of really close friends. She doesn't have relationships. And yet she's still just kind of has this positive outlook on life and has like a bright and cheery attitude. And you know, when she gets asked to mentor these 3 girls, like she says yes to it. And I just really enjoyed her as a character. She felt very real. She felt very relatable, even though she's also a witch. Very relatable to me as someone who is really seeking out human connection, but also feels to understand like there's reasons why she doesn't have it yet, and kind of can keep people a little bit at a distance too. Like when she first starts, you know, having feelings towards Jamie, that she's a little bit like, oh no, like he'll end up leaving me, or I'll leave him, or something will happen along those lines. Even when she started to get close to the 3 girls and feeling a little bit of fear of like, what if I have to leave them? What if the girls have to get separated? So I really enjoyed her as a character. The romance is obviously like a big underlying theme of the book. And to me, I liked that it wasn't a ton of back and forth. Sometimes I get a little bit tired of like the constant push and pull and that sort of thing. I felt like this was, you know, this to me felt a little bit more relatable too, of 2 people that are just trying to figure out if they can actually make things work. Like there's not a lot really keeping them from each other. I mean, we do have a bit of a plot twist in here that I won't share what the plot twist is, but we definitely have a plot twist where it could have thrown a bigger wrench into things. But again, I liked the way the writing was, that like nothing was so super over the top dramatic. There wasn't a crazy amount of tension throughout all of the pages. It just made it fun to read. And kind of going back to the word cozy, like there wasn't any points where I was like scared or frustrated, or again, just kind of like annoyed with like a back and forth type of situation. It just was very cozy. Like to me, it was one of those of like, you know, like things are going to work out, but you weren't really sure how they were going to work out. Especially when we got the plot twist about halfway, maybe a little bit more than halfway throughout the book. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't see that coming. And then we have another little twist that happens after that too, that I was like, I didn't see that one coming either. So I kind of enjoyed that about the story, that, you know, maybe it's one of those, like, as you're reading it, you're like, oh, I know exactly where this is going. I know exactly what's going to go on. But I feel like the little twists in here were actually, you know, kind of kept me on my toes a little bit too. And at the end of the day, especially reading the author's note of, you know, she wanted to make this a story about humans and connections and friendships and what it means to be family. And even if you know, it's not your blood family, but the family that you choose. And I think that she really did a really good job of evoking that through the pages. I really enjoyed this one. This was one of those because I started reading a few different books at the same time, and this was the one that I was really drawn to the most, and I really enjoyed it. So if you're just looking for like a cozy holiday read, just something like fun to get you, maybe again too, holiday time is not always the easiest for people. It's not always the easiest for me, who often is not with my family, and you're just looking for a book about making your own family and finding those connections in maybe some unexpected places. I think this would be a good read for you. So I'm going to give this a 4-star review. I put all of my reviews on Amazon and also on my book blog, which is chickletplus.com. And I really do want to pass this on to a friend too, maybe someone who is in need of a little cheering up and a good cozy romance, maybe to enjoy with some hot chocolate by a fireplace, like I did a lot with this book. But I hope you enjoyed seeing my first blind book date and book review for the book. Have you read The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, or do you think that you'll be picking it up? I'll have it linked in my description box. Of course, it'll be on my Amazon storefront as well, and I hope you enjoyed this one.